Today, let's continue doing some pronunciation practice. We started some of this before. We can do a little bit more today, okay? Last time we looked at some of these phrases from our dialogue, and we can look at a couple more from this dialogue, and then we can look at some other resources that I've found that we can practice together and practice some of the sounds that are a little bit tricky. And again, like last time, I want you to try to speak out. If you hear me say something, I want you to try to say it too, okay? I'll try to give you some time to repeat after me. So you might want to be in a quiet place. If your family is around, you might embarrass them, but that's okay. Just try your best. You got to be brave to learn a new language, right? Okay, so let's try with this one we practiced last time. So this place seems right up my alley. I'll take it. So remember, there's going to be some moving with your voice. This place seems right up my alley. Go up, up, down. This place seems right up my alley. Very good. Then I'll take it. Remember, we have to link this. It's not take it, it's take it. I'll take it. Very good. And again, the T is not really a T. You don't say it. There's no pushing of the air, just the it. You stop the air. The T makes a T sound when it's at the beginning of a word. Take, take. But if it's at the end of the word, or maybe in the middle somewhere, it often doesn't sound like T. Take it. Take it. Okay, keep going. Hold your horses. Hold your horses. Not hold your horses. Hold your horses. Hold your horses. Okay? Oh, where did this line come from? Before you make any big decisions, we should talk it out first. Before you make any big decisions, so make any big decisions, we should talk it out first. Talk it out. So talk it out. Tricky. Talk it out. Say it like it's one word. Can you do that? We should talk it out first. Excellent. Okay. Again, so here we can go down and then up. You're right, Bob. You're right, Bob. Notice, you're right turns into just one R sound. You're right. You're right, Bob. Good. And then here's these T's. This T makes no sound. This T sounds like a D. This T sounds like a D. It's better to be careful. Oh, I made a T sound a little bit. It's better to be careful. It's better to be careful. So it's tricky, right? You don't need to go t. Can you give us a few minutes? Give us. Can you give us a few minutes? Excellent. Okay. Now we won't do all of these, but let's move to something new. This place looks good on paper, but don't jump the gun. Let's take a closer look. So this place, this place looks good on paper, and then down again. This place looks good on paper. Okay? And here there's a linking. Good on. Looks good on paper. Good on paper. But don't jump the gun. Again, the T doesn't make a sound. Don't. Don't say don't. Don't drag that N out. You want to stop quickly. Don't jump the gun. And the P, also don't say jump. There's no P. Don't jump the gun. So a lot of these letters at the end will just stop really fast, okay? So don't jump the gun. Very good. Let's take a closer look. And actually, we link it more than that. Let's take a closer look. So let's take a closer look. Let's take a closer look. So take a closer look. Okay? Not so hard. Again, as usual, if you have any questions, put it in the chat. Okay? Let's see. I'm getting messages from other people, but not from you yet. That's okay. Now, this is Bob being concerned. Don't you think the walls are lifeless? So, don't you think don't you think the walls are lifeless? I've been doing too much of this today. Don't you? So here there's no T there. It's not don't you. It almost sounds like don't you. Kind of like a bean cow. Don't you? Or, oh, that's a Spanish thing, right? They fight the cow. Don't you? Don't you? Don't you think the walls are lifeless? So it sounds like don't you? Don't you? The T goes away. So when we speak, we don't go don't. Don't say don't. Never. Say don't. You stop quick. Don't you think the walls are lifeless? And you go up at the end. Lifeless? Don't you think the walls are lifeless? There's no color. So this you could go up or down. There's no color because it's a comma, and it looks like a hospital. So there's no color, and it looks like a hospital. Looks like. So this S blends onto the like. Looks like. The K too. Looks like. It looks like a hospital. And then here's that T again. Can you hear it? Hospital. You don't hear hospital. You don't need to say that. We will say it almost like a D. Hospital. Hospital. Okay? So let's try this together. Don't you think the walls are lifeless? Okay, piece by piece, a little slower. Don't you think the walls are lifeless? Good. There's no color. Go up first because it's a comma. If you say it by itself, you go down. Because at the end of a sentence, you go down. But here it's a comma, so let's remember to go up. There's no color. There's no color. And it looks like a hospital. It looks like a hospital. So up and down. You try. And it looks like a hospital. Very good. Okay. How about we do one or two more of these, and then we can try something different. We can look at some other kinds of sounds. And maybe if we have time, if we want to, we can come back to more of these, because these are good examples. So here's you being more positive again. I can paint the walls as soon as I move in, and it'll look good as new. So this word, C-A-N, can, can. If you say it by itself, you say can, right? Can. But if we say it fast, it almost sounds like can. Or we say it really short. So this is a really lazy sound. I can paint. I can paint the walls. So when we're speaking quick, we don't say I can paint the walls. We say I can paint the walls. So this is what I would recommend you do. Don't say I can paint. Say I can paint. I can. Almost like, yeah, a little bit like C-U-N or K-U-N. So you could think of it as I can paint the walls. So try that. I can paint the walls. Because it's the middle of a sentence, we can go up a little bit. I can paint the walls as soon as I move in. Comma, so we can go up actually. I can paint the walls as soon as I move in, and it'll look good as new. So, as soon as, this is a phrase that we use all the time. As soon as blah, blah, blah. And because of that, we can blend it together, okay? So, as soon. These two S's sound like one S. You don't say as soon. Don't stop in the middle. As soon. Can you hear that the S goes from as soon? So it's from one word to the next. It's one long S. As soon. As soon as. Can you hear the link at the end too? The N from soon will stick to the A in as. Nas. As soon as. As soon as. So this is something that's tricky, but I want you to think about. Don't worry about it, of course, but try not to separate your words. You want the letters to stick together. So I can paint the walls as soon as I move in. There's another one. Move in. Can you hear it? As soon as I move in. Vin. Move in. That's because a lot of times, one thing that could help you is if it's a standard phrase, if it's a common phrase like as soon as. These three words go together all the time. So you can imagine that it's one word, as soon as. If that helps, you could imagine it as one word, even though there are spaces there. As soon as I can, as soon as I move in. And it'll look good as new. So again, that's a T, but we don't say it'll. Don't do that. This sounds almost like IDL. It'll. Okay? It'll. Like I said before, if a T is at the beginning of a word or the beginning of a stressed syllable, that sounds like T. But if it's in the middle of a word or the end of a word, it doesn't sound like T most of the time. It'll. So it'll look. Oh, there's another link. It'll look. You pull that L across. It'll look. It'll look good as new. Good as new. Good as new. So it'll look good as new. So now try faster. It'll look good as new. It'll look good as new. Good. Very good. Now this is really hard, right? But that's okay. I just want you to try to... You don't want to think too much about these things. You don't want to analyze too much. But what you could do, you can, if it helps you, you can do what I'm doing with these lines. You could take a sentence and then see where the words link together and draw that little line. So like this, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Doesn't it? Doesn't it? On doesn't, that the T disappears, so it actually sounds like knit. Doesn't it bother you that there's no elevator? We had to, this goes together, climb 6 flights of stairs. So, doesn't it bother you? You try. That there's no elevator. That there's no elevator. These don't really have much linking, but there's no, the S kind of sticks to the N. There's no. You don't need to separate it. There's no elevator. We had to. So the D and the T link together. Had to. Now, why is that a t? Well, it's the beginning of a word. Had to. If you say it quick, you actually can say it less strong. You can say had to. We had to climb. We had to climb. But you could say we had to climb. We had to climb 6 flights of stairs. 6 flights of stairs. Flights of. Okay? One other thing, I think you can probably hear it. This is not off. There's no f sound. OF sounds like of. Almost like UV, right? V, of. Sounds almost like UV. Flights of stairs. Of. So that's another tricky one. Okay. So that's a few examples. Let's just try this one more time. We can try it together. Let's see. Doesn't it bother you? Doesn't it bother you that there's no elevator? Go up at the question mark. We had to climb 6 flights of stairs. We had to climb 6 flights of stairs. And then go down at the end. So, doesn't it bother you that there's no elevator? Good. We had to climb 6 flights of stairs. Good. Now, when you have words like had to, you want to say it really fast. When it's little words that we say all the time, we can say them really fast. We had to climb. We had to climb. We had to climb. This we can say super fast. Kind of like doesn't it? Doesn't it? Doesn't it? We say it all the time, so you can say it super fast. Doesn't it? And you don't need all of these sounds because I know what you're saying because we say it all the time. Okay? Now, this is a little bit tricky. These are some sentences. Let's look at some other stuff we can practice for a few minutes, and then maybe we can come back in a little bit. Okay? So let's look at some vowel sounds. Now, this is going back to the basics, but it's good to practice anyways, okay? So there are short vowel sounds and there are long vowel sounds. A long vowel sound means the vowels say their name. Now, what does that mean? Well, what are the names of the vowels? Well, A, E, I, O, U. And so those are their names. A, E, I, O, U. And so sometimes in a word, you actually say the letter like that. So the letters say their name. There's a question. How do you speak smoothly that theirs? Good question. Let's go back for a second. Doesn't it bother you that there's no elevator? That theirs? So let's give an easier sentence. I know that there's what is there? What's over there? What do we know? I know that there's a book on the table. Something simple, okay? What do you know? I know that there's a book on the table. So, in terms of understanding the sentence, the pieces are, I know something. I know that. What do you know? I know that there's a book on the table. Okay? So what do I know? I know that there's a book. Where is the book? The book is on the table. I know that there's a book on the table. Okay? The word that. That. Do you hear the T at the end? No. This is called a stop. Sometimes a T you stop the air. That. That means your tongue will touch the top of your mouth and stop the air coming out. To make a T sound, like I want to drink tea, you put your tongue on the top of your mouth and then you push the air out. Tea. Okay? But at the end of a word, we do the first part. We put the tongue on top of our mouth, but we don't do the push. We don't go the t. You don't do that part. You only stop the air. I know that. You stop the air coming out. I know that. And then this word is theirs. Your tongue goes to your teeth and then push air out. Theirs. Theirs. Okay? And so you kind of move from one word to the next. It sounds like that, theirs. It's like T-H-A, T-H-E-R-E-S. You just move from T-H-A to the T-H. That, theirs. Almost like that. So it's kind of a smooth thing. This T basically disappears. I'll put an X under it. You still make the shape, but you don't make a sound. You don't say t. So that, theirs. So what happens is the T on T-H-A-T. That, your tongue touches the top, and then your tongue moves to your teeth and then makes the theirs sound. That, theirs. Does that make sense? It's complicated, but that's really how you do it. So you just get rid of this T and make the TH sound. So I know that theirs, that theirs, that theirs. Can you hear that? It's just like T-H-A-T-H. That theirs. Is that helpful? Or is that making you confused? I know that there's a book on the table. And so then there's a Z. S can sound like a Z. There's a book gone. Con. You can hear the K-O-N. Book gone. The table. The table. Here, this actually makes a real T sound because it's at the beginning of a word, right? I know that there's a book on the table. I know that there's a book on the table. A book on the table. Blah. Okay, let's try it one more time, the whole thing. I know that there's a book on the table. Excellent. Now, maybe you could write down this sentence and try it again and again and again. Your friends and family will think you're crazy because you're saying the same sentence again and again, but that's how you get better with pronunciation, right? So, yeah, good question. That, theirs. That T disappears, just make another TH right away. Okay, good question. We'll come back to more T stuff in a few minutes. Let's just talk about the vowel sounds.